It's because it feels completely stock, and then it lets go at about 6,000. Right there.
Hey guys, welcome to Dirt Gear TV. If you haven't been here before, check out our video library. I got some really cool stuff in there. On the side of me here is my 2019 Kawasaki Z900. You guys have probably seen that I've done some other modifications to this bike, but by far the one that I am most excited about is the one that we're taking a look at today. It's a ECU reflashed by 2WheelDynoWorks. Now, especially for motorcycles, there's two very common options available. Number one would be to put a fuel management system onto your motorcycle like a power commander, for example. The biggest benefit of using something like a power commander system is adaptability. The better way to do this would be to actually tune the ECU that's on the bike from factory. Not only do you have the ability to change your fuel mapping, but you have the ability to change your ignition timing maps. Also, a lot of these modern bikes have a secondary throttle opening that is only accessible through the use of a reflash system like an ECU tune. That's something that Power Commander just can't do. Also, you can change the point at which your cooling fans will kick on to run the bike a little bit cooler than the factory setup. So these are all examples of parameters that you wouldn't be able to do with something like a Power Commander system. So that's why I'm so excited to share with you guys 2WheelDynoWorks. So they are dyno tuning and reflashing service and facility that's based out of Kirkland, Washington. They'll take the actual bike, they'll put them on the dynos, and they'll actually develop a fuel mapping system for those specific models, those years, and then they'll even go so far as to develop mapping for different exhaust systems. You can really get a very fine dialed in tune for your specific application. Not only is it a lot more cost effective for you, they can program the actual ECU by mail-in service. I'm going to take you guys through the installation of the ECU, and then we're going to do a test ride together because I want to share some honest thoughts the first time I get on the bike with how I feel their service did for my Z900 with my exhaust setup. They put the ECU underneath the fuel tank, so we are going to have to take off some of the fairings and lift up the fuel tank to get access to that. So what you're going to do is you're just going to disconnect this unit from these brackets. They just pop loose. You will mail them this, which is your ECU, your computer, and then they will ship it back to you. I've gotten this back already, so we're going to go ahead and put this back into place, like we're reinstalling it, but I wanted to show you guys how this came apart. Now there's a few other things that we're going to want to do while we're under here. So one of the things that we're going to have to do while this tank is up is disconnect our O2 sensor. So basically, because this thing is now running on a custom programmed fuel mapping, we don't want that O2 sensor changing the mapping that I just received from 2WheelDynoWorks. If you left your O2 sensor connected, what that's going to do is that's going to now take this slightly richer and better performing map, and it's going to pull that back into a very lean state for fuel mileage that's not going to be good for performance. So our O2 sensor on these bikes, they screw in right underneath here, right into the collector part of our headers. So this simply unthreads, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove mine entirely. Now obviously, since we removed our oxygen sensor, one of the other things that we're going to have to do here is plug that hole in our headers there. This is the appropriate plug to do so. I think I got this one right from Amazon. This is going to take a 10mm Allen. So there's one step left, and that's to block off the air injection system. If we don't, we're going to have some pretty nasty popping on deceleration. So this is actually fairly simple. Now on this side of the tank, right up underneath here, there's a couple of hoses This hose comes up and then it goes into the bottom of the air box. You can kind of see it. Yeah, see it right there? That's where that hose comes into the air box. So what we're gonna do is we're going to plug up. Well, first we need to disconnect that, and then we're gonna plug both ends of that hose. So I've got the hose loose. So this is one end of the hose here that we're gonna plug. This is just a cap off for a vacuum line. I believe this is 5/8. I know that one of them is 5/8 and the other I believe is 1/2 inch. So we're gonna plug both sides of this. All right, now we're just gonna reassemble. All right, so a quick checklist. We have installed the new computer, reinstalled our fairings, we have eliminated the O2 sensor, and we have capped off our air injection system. So that's basically it. Now, before I take this thing out for a test drive, I do want to give you guys the specs that they provide from 2WheelDynoWorks on their website. The figures that I'm about to give you were quoted with a slip-on exhaust only, but my system should be better because we've eliminated the catalytic converter. So we should see a little bit better power gains with the way that mine is set up. But according to their dyno runs, stock this bike to the rear wheel was producing 116.68 horsepower, and it was producing 69.44 pound-feet of torque. After the ECU was tuned and installed, they claim that the horsepower number is 125.2 to the rear wheel. That is a substantial gain, guys. That's almost 10 horsepower to the rear wheel, according to their dyno runs. The torque has also increased. The torque has gone from 69.44 to 73.30 pound-feet of torque. So you can see the two dyno poles. One thing that's interesting here is I believe that they increased the rev limiter, so we've got a couple hundred more RPM on the top end. 10 horsepower to the rear wheel with nothing but a mail-in service is, guys, if I had anything near that, I would be completely thrilled with it. But again, I should have achieved more of that than the stock bike because we've removed our catalytic converter. So if you haven't seen that video yet, check out my video on the power mod the manufacturers don't want you to know about. But we're installed, I've gone through the checklist, the time is here, so let's give this thing a test run.
All right, I think we're recording. I hope we are. First, guys, let me just say that I am fully aware that the audio quality is awful on this, and I have tried everything in my power to make sure that I got the best audio captured that I could, but I know it's probably overloading the microphone. So I apologize for that, guys. There's really not much more I can do. I've tried every which way. So, this is our first test run with the new ECU tune. Wow. And I will say, already, it just feels very smooth. So one of the things that 2WheelDynoWorks does is they disable the decel fuel cut. I'm pretty sure from factory there's like 100% fuel cut on deceleration, you know, for emissions. That's why they do that, and also for MPG. And so what happens is when you let off the throttle, it just cuts the fuel, and it's really kind of jerky. So far it doesn't feel any difference power-wise. It just feels just much smoother, more controllable, better manners. Broski's running on like 6 PSI. Did you guys see that? I wonder if he knows he's flat. He knows something's up. Alright, we gotta focus on the video here. Let's see what's happening. We'll do like a second gear pull here. I'm not trying to get too crazy, but I'll tell you, there's definitely something there that wasn't there before. rev limiter comes on a little bit later than it used to, so that's one of the other cool benefits. It's definitely running cooler, which is fantastic. There's a lot less heat coming off the engine. It has a progressive onset starting at about 6,000 RPM, and then it starts to pull hard above 9,000. That feels better than the exhaust work I've done on the bike. It really feels like there's no changes down below about 5,000 RPM. It feels completely stock. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, it's like right at 5,500 RPM, I'm putting down more power. Absolutely, without a doubt. Maybe those secondary throttle plates were restricting, and it feels like something has been slightly unlocked, where it all of a sudden kicks in where it didn't before. And I can feel it immediately when it happens, because it feels completely stock, and then it lets go at about 6,000. Right there. It's right between 6,000 and 6,500 RPM. Seriously, what an absolute fantastic little modification to make. I think that these guys are actually running a special right now because of this whole COVID situation. Last I remember, on their website, they were doing $249. You send them the ECU, they mail it back to you. That includes the return shipping, and they are fast, guys. I sent it out priority, and I had it back within some ridiculous time frame, 4 or 5 days. I had the thing back at my house. In terms of this performance mod, bang for buck, there's nothing that can touch it, in my opinion. Not even exhaust work. One of the other cool things that 2WheelDynoWorks does is that they give you a free retune for life. Let's say you get your program done, and then you decide to do exhaust work or change something on the bike afterwards. You then send them the ECU again, they send it back to you free of charge. So guys, I'm absolutely thrilled with my tune from 2WheelDynoWorks. I recommend that you contact these guys. If you have a different bike than a Z900, they do tunes for all types of bikes. So get in contact with them, get on their website, check it out, see if they can tune your bike for you. Thank you, 2WheelDynoWorks. I'm Rick with Dirt Gear TV, and I will see you guys next time.